So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce, we have two fantastic speakers this morning. And what this is about today is celebrating women. And we have two fantastic women here with us this morning who are role models in leading the way in politics and in business. Two areas that, and we know from women in these fields, not the easiest thing to do. So we'll have fantastic stories and insights from them this morning. So first, I'm going to introduce Valerie Moran. And Valerie is Head of Operations with eCOMM Merchant Solutions. So I'm just going to hand over to Valerie now, and Valerie's going to speak, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end of it. Good morning, Valerie.
Good morning to you, Lorraine.
How are you this morning?
Very well, and yourself? And firstly, I just want to thank Paula McCall and the Meath Chamber team all for inviting me to speak today, and the wider audience that have taken time to basically join us on and taking time from their busy day to basically hear us and contribute to this wonderful conversation that we're going to have. Absolutely. I'll start off by basically giving you a little bit of insight into my background, and therefore it will just start off by giving you an idea of how I started off in business, literally. My career did not start off in fintech or reflect what I do today. I'm a qualified systems analyst by profession, really. I worked in several other industries over the years that gave me great experience and disciplines in many areas of my career, really. I began working in payments in 2007 when PFS started off initially from a kitchen table with just myself at first. Then Noel joined me 6 months later. Our business idea really at the time was started when the UK was in the middle of a recession with very little capital, as well with no prospects of clients. However, that did not deter us at the time. 14 years ago, when I really started off in payments, payments was really a small industry and it was beginning to grow. And fintech was not even a word back then. And there were very few women in the sector, to be honest. Most of the conventions I would have attended, I would count the number of women on my palm that had leading roles in the sector, really. The industry also lacked diversity and there was very little inclusion of women. However, fast forward the 14 years on, women are now embracing roles in technology, and hence one can see the changes slowly. Whilst the numbers are still very small and they don't compare with our male counterparts, however, there is hope because a lot of the young people are beginning to look, the young women rather, are beginning to look into careers in technology, very slowly though. Because of the lack of women when I first started, it really ignited me as a business owner to look at our HR policies. And what I tried to do, because I owned my own business, was introduce HR policies that basically were without prejudice. And by that, I mean, we worked and identified women that had potential and basically that had an interest in working in technology. And then we upscaled those women through different training courses and different sessions that basically allowed the women to upscale themselves. Not only that, we looked at diversity and inclusion and recruiting across the board, regardless of your ethnicity, basically, and creating equal opportunities across the business. And that was my primary focus, really, in the business from the operational aspect. In 2014, we founded eCOMM Merchant Solutions. eCOMM Merchant Solutions is based in the IDEA Office Park today, and that is where my role as operations really is solely functional today. We are a payments company that basically focuses in merchant acquiring and payment gateway. Most of our core business is really about providing a payment device or e-commerce solutions to merchants. 2020 was a very challenging year for eCOMM. And the reason why I say it was a challenging year, because of COVID-19, we were not immune to it. Most of the merchants that we have today are actually still not operating because of the pandemic. In addition, we provided a lot of e-commerce services to the travel industry and the cruise ship industry. unfortunately, that industry has been acutely affected by the pandemic, meaning that we've basically have had huge losses of revenue over the last 12 months. And I don't see 2021 improving either as well. I see 2021 still being a year where we will still have these revenue losses as well, and they will continue for eCOMM merchant solution. However, even though it may look grim, we've really tried as a company to push on and maintain, our work ethic and motivate our staff that, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Whilst revenues are low and business is not coming through, I think it's very important as a business owner to motivate your staff, because it does affect one's motivation and it does concern a lot of the staff in terms of job security.
Yeah. And can I ask you just there on that, Valerie? So, in terms, there's two main questions I want to ask you, but just coming in there in relation to motivating staff, because this is something that we're seeing from a human resource perspective and from management, and especially now in the third lockdown, we can see it's hitting people hard. Motivation levels have dropped. People are feeling more lethargic. What have you managed to do, or what do you think has been important for you to be able to keep your staff motivated?
I think what we've done, basically, we've made sure that we've kept everybody informed of the business structure, basically. And whilst COVID did hit the company, and it was pretty obvious with us, especially November and December was a very difficult time for us, because in our industry, the type of work that we do, there's something called chargebacks. So when a merchant goes out, basically goes into liquidation or administration, we are left with the deficit, basically. And that's how Visa and MasterCard work. And a lot of the staff could see this coming through, and we were so overwhelmed by these chargebacks. So what we did is that we made an announcement. We gathered up our team and made an announcement immediately to say, whilst the losses have been large, we don't intend to change the structure. And luckily for us, not for everyone, we had just sold PFS, so we were lucky that we could invest into the company. Now, I say this luckily for us, because if we hadn't sold the company PFS, I can rest assure you we would have probably been out of business, because the losses were really colossal, running into millions, hence why staff were really worried at the time. So we motivated by investing into the company, and then also telling staff that no one would be losing their job, because we had other projects that before COVID we couldn't pay attention to because we were so busy. It has given a chance to basically expand our platform and work on those other projects in preparation for the future, really.
And there's a lot of that, which I suppose the main thing there is that keeping the communication open and transparency with your staff, including them, letting them know what is actually happening, so that they're aware and they can be part of it, and that gives that reassurance. And also, as you're saying, being able to see, while this has been very difficult for everybody, it has enabled us to, in some ways, step back, reassess and refocus how we have been running our business, or what maybe we need to do to strengthen ourselves to move forward. And it is important that we do take an opportunity to step back and look at that within our businesses, with our staff, and pull them into that communication again at this point in time.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. One thing the communication does definitely is that it will keep the team engaged. And what we found that when we did that, everyone supported the company. Everyone worked extra hours to make sure that we would submit those chargebacks to MasterCard and Visa, the schemes, in a timely manner. So we had a massive support from our team to make sure that the business would still be afloat. Yeah. And that was really heart-wrenching. At a time like this, when things are really bad for many companies, to see a team that comes together to support you, that is really priceless.
So what one piece of advice would you give, Valerie, to the other people who are running businesses of all different sizes this morning here on the call?
I would say basically, if you're running a business, as a business owner, you have a duty to make sure that you keep your staff informed and you communicate with your staff. Basically, you need to make sure that in the hard times or the good times, you give back information to the staff so that they're not wondering what's happening. Regardless of how bad or good the news is, you need to keep your staff informed. And then also as well, you need to make sure that you're an open book, you discuss everything with your team and you engage your staff, because by engaging them, a lot of them will give you ideas that you may not have thought of really. And by working collectively, that will basically broaden either your prospects of new sales, that you as a business owner are solely focused on revenue, but perhaps not looking at other avenues. And that's where your team will help you really.
Thank you, Valerie. I could stay talking to you all morning, and unfortunately, due to time constraints, we'll have to leave it at that, but I'm sure you will come back again and maybe share more of your invaluable knowledge with the members of this network at a later date. Thank you so much to Valerie Moran, Head of Operations with eCOMM Merchant Solutions.